Allah, but how is it gathered from Allah? What is the means? What is the means? Iqra. This is the command. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Read in the name of your Lord who has created you. What is the operative yani fa'al amr? For those of you who understand the qawaid or of the Arabic, it's fa'al amr. It means read. Yeah, so God. Right. It means not think. He didn't say fikr. He didn't say sama, like we said to Beni Israel. Shema Yisrael, Abrok Hatoy, Elanoy, Elahinu. They didn't say that to us. He said, Ikra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Read. This is the fundamental imperative command on all Muslims, men and women. Read in the name of your Lord who created you, because through this reading, you will learn what you did not know. What you did not know, he will teach you by that pen what you did not know. So this revivification of this in our time is very easily accomplished by doing what? By reading. How do you read? What's the first step in reading? The first step in reading is, if you can't read, you have to learn to read. Remember, Jibreel alayhi salam grabbed the Prophet alayhi salam and he said, Iqra, Iqra, Iqra. I said, how did he know how to read when he was ummi? When he went back to Lady Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, and she asked him, well, how did you read? How could you read? And he said, it was as though the words were written in light upon my heart. It was as though the words were written in light upon my heart. Did he read a book? Remember what Allah says in Hadith al-Qudsi. Nothing contains me but, yes, the heart of the believer. Nothing contains me but the heart of the believer. Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha asked him, how did you read, Ya Rasulullah, when you can't read? He said, the words as though they were written upon my heart. He read his heart, and in reading his heart, he read the revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Are we beginning to understand what we're talking about here? Beginning to understand, yes, alhamdulillah, mashallah, a very astute young scholar there. So these things of Dhahri and Batini and these things have to be understood in a certain perspective, in that every Muslim has to read every day. At the minimum, you have to read out loud what? You have to read your Fajr, or Subh, as you depend how you call the prayer, your Maghrib and the Isha. Every Muslim must read that every day out loud. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. You must do it. And you must read it inwardly twice a day, without a doubt. This is fard and incumbent upon all Muslims. This is the step. This holds true for the Arab and the non-Arab. Is it any different for us that we're not Arab? There are many I see out here who are not Arab. Can you read it in Urdu? No. Can you read it in Chinese? No. Can you read it in Malay? No. Can you read it in Pushtu? Can you read it in Dari? Can you read it in Swahili? No. You have to read it in Arabic. Because why? It's an Arabic revelation, which means you have to learn to read. Step one, you must learn to read. Then every one of us is learning to read. So then what holds true? How do you reach to the next step? How did the Rasul learn to read, alayhi salatu wasalam? How did he learn to read? He had a teacher. The Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam had a teacher. Yes, he had a teacher. Who was the teacher's name? Jibreel alayhi salam. Everybody who has learned to read the Quran has learned to read from somebody. Some people think today you can learn to read from a tape recorder. Some people think that you can learn to read from a computer. Some people think you can learn to read from a television. Some people believe you can learn to read from a book. Who can you learn to read from? A person, a human being who already knows how to read. I see some of them out there, they've been taught how to read. They will learn how to read. How did they learn to read? They learned to read from a teacher. And how did that teacher learn to read? He learned to read from a teacher and from a teacher until Yadallahi fawqa aydihim. Yadallahi fawqa aydihim. Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam taught the people how to read. They in turn taught the people how to read. And everybody who learns to read is learned and is taught by a teacher. And why do you need a teacher? Because you make mistakes. I make mistakes. We may say, Wallah zalin. How many times do we hear that? Wallah zalin. Or we hear, A'uzu billahi. A'uzu? Who a'uzu? A'uzu? A'udhu. Who's going to teach you how to put it in your mouth, how to say it right? A teacher. You must have a'udhu, a'udhu, a'udhu. People struggle with this, like that, to get it right. The teacher is the one who explains to you to say, a'udhu billahi. A'udhu billahi min ash-shaytani rajim. Rajim? No, rajim. Please, rajim. Im, a'u, a'u. You have to learn to say it right. You need a teacher. Everybody needs a teacher. First step, get a teacher. Find a teacher. Find somebody somewhere who's learned to read. That's the first step in the practice of that. The second step of it is to, when you do this make you to be a student. You see, if you have here a glass, like this glass, and if this glass here is filled all the way to the top, you can't put anything in the glass. The glass is full. The student is the person whose cup is empty, so the teacher can pour into the cup the knowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, in order to learn, we must all become students. We go to the teacher, there's a teacher, maybe he's younger than you. Like for somebody like me, my teacher has often been younger than me. Young, old, not a difference. The thing is, who knows can teach. Who doesn't know can't teach. That's the step. Now we have a teacher. We found a teacher somewhere. Not a tape recorder, not a program on the computer, not something on the net, not something on the web, not something on the TV. A living what? Human being. A human being who reads from his lips to your heart. He puts it in your thing. He can teach you over and over again. He's patient. He's kind. Sometimes he hits you like, come on, what's the matter with you? Sometimes he's very sweet and very kind with you. Wherever he is with you, he gives you the knowledge. Allah! Exactly. This come into you and you get the knowledge. It come inside of your being from his mouth to your heart. There's no other way that this happens. This is the way it happens. That's that. Okay, now you have that together. That's the step. Now you set up a program. This program is every week you go to this teacher once or twice. And then what do you do in your time? You begin to read every day and you set a program with him. Maybe you read Nisfa Juz, or a sipara, as some of you call it, half a sipara every day. And you try to increase this until you are reading every day in the morning and in the night. You're going to your teacher, and what begins to happen is the Quran begins to come inside the human body. Because, I will read you the ayats, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, in regarding this thing, that he has placed his signs on the horizons, in the heavens, in the earth, and where? Fi anfusikum, in yourselves. How did the signs get in yourself? The signs get in yourself by this reading. So that by every day when you begin to do this reading, you begin to come, that this Quran of Allah, these words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begin to be imprinted upon your heart. Because you hear them over again. You read and you read and you read. Every day you're reading and reading, and as you read these words,